Okay, good afternoon everybody. So let us start our class with the schedule. So you know that your test will be on this Friday and test will be one time. I want to start exactly one time because the test will be at least 45 minutes. So if I can start one time, then maybe I can extend to a few more minutes if needed. Okay, but if you come late, then you will not get any extension. Any extended time. Okay, so please come on time, and the question will be, there will be 5 to 6 questions and maybe 6 questions, and you have to write mostly codes. Okay, mostly code, or you have to explain procedures like for bubble sort or any other sorting algorithm. You have to write all of the steps. Okay, so if you follow my lecture, and if needed, please review my lectures. And then if you follow my lectures, then I already give some hints what kind of questions will be in the test. Okay, so please go through previous lectures, not today's lecture. Today's lecture is out of this test. Okay, it will be for the second test. Okay. So in order to do well in the test, you need to understand class, object, new operator, these operator, and then how to create an object, how to generate getters and setter and how to use them, how to do sorting algorithm, bubble sort, insertion sort, selection sort, and how to do linear search, write a method in order to do in order to return maybe the lowest even or the largest even or largest word numbers from a list like this. Okay, so anyone remember that where did we leave in our last class? We were discussing inheritance, right? So we are discussing inheritance with C# program. So I will continue with C# in today's class, but in next class I will switch back to Java for a while. Okay, so we are explaining inheritance. Okay, so there are a lot of things that we can go through inheritance stuff, but maybe we went through the first few slides of inheritance. Okay, so I like you to go through these slides. Okay, read through these slides at least one or twice, but these slides are not all. So we have book. So if you go to the D2L page, and you will see that there is a link of the book. So you can download the book free. There is a free book, and you can download. And then if you focus on my class, then you will understand the concept. So we discussed how to access private member. We know that I told you that private members are not inheritable, but private members are accessed through the class through the classes internal functions, like we especially with those use call this getter or setter. Okay, in C# these are called get and set methods in general. Okay, so we discussed that we have a base class, vehicle class, and then we created 2 subclasses, car class and truck class of vehicle class, and then we call this you see that in our vehicle main method we created vehicle instance, vehicle object v1, v2, v3, v4, and we also created car object c1, c2, and we also created truck object. Okay, so if you understand up to these, then you will be able to create any kind of subclass from vehicle, right? So for today, just this last example, I want to create, let us create one more subclass of this vehicle. That's a subclass, means derived class of this vehicle class. So how do we do that? So we will click on our project, then do right click our project, then add, and we want to add new item. Okay, in C#, new item, we want to add a class. So what we can give any name of the class. In general, start with an uppercase character. Let us make this class name as, we have truck, private car means car, and let us make it bus, passenger bus. Okay, so we see that we have bus class. In C# you will see the .cs file extension name, and in Java you will see java.java. So I have my class bus. So far this bus class is independent. Independent means it is a new class. It has no relation with other classes like car class or truck class or vehicle class. Okay, so let us create, we will see today differently. We will inherit the vehicle class later, but let us create a new method here. For instance, public void what my class, say run, for instance. Okay, so please C# people, okay, speak with me. So what do I need to write here? Console. Okay, console dot write line. Why do we need to write line? The difference between write and write line is that if I write write, then after my a bus is mainly used for what? Transporting people, passengers. CSE1322S02L10 typo. Okay, so if we, I'm sorry, semicolon. So if we use the write method, then after showing this line, it will not come in a new line, right? But if we use write line here, then after this method, it will create a new line. Okay. So now I have my bus class, although this class is independent. It does not inherit any property from any other class. Okay, so in the vehicle method, so let us create let us come first here. Let us create a bus object. Bus like B1 equal to new bus, right? This is the way. Okay, and now if I see B1, then if I say B1 dot, then how many methods I do have to access? I have equals method, I have a get hash code, get type, and run method. This run method is defined within the bus class only, it's internal. Okay, so I have way to only to use or access is internal or own methods. Okay, but when we created our car object, that we were able to see C1 dot, you see that we had get color, set color, okay, get door, run door method, but in our bus object we do not have get door, get color, set color. What is the reason? Can anyone guess why? So my question is that my C1 object, my car object, has access to get door, get speed, okay, set door, set color, get color, like this. But my bus object does not have that object access. What is the reason? Because the bus object has only one internal method, run method, okay, and it does not inherit or borrow anything from any other class. So if you see the bus class, this class is independent. So but if I want that my bus method will inherit some property from vehicle class, then we need to do this thing, right? We need to do, like for instance, like this. We did there car, inheritance, sign, and then vehicle. Then we need to add this line over here. This line in my bus here. So then what will happen? Then this my bus object will be able to access his own method, as well as it will be able to access some properties, inheritable properties from the vehicle class. Now if we go back to vehicle.main and if we write b1 dot, now you see that this time I have get door, get speed, set door, set color, set speed methods. So the advantage of one of the advantages of using inheritance here, right? We understand that if we inherit, then we can access properties from our parent class. Okay, this is the great advantage. This is the great advantage of using inheritance. So through inheritance, we can reduce our code. We can reduce complexity of developing software and application, because whatever I do have already in my parent class, like for instance getter method, setter methods, I do not need to redefine these methods, right? I can easily access those method, inheritable method. So anyone has any questions so far? Everybody understand? Okay, this is the main foundational knowledge of object-oriented inheritance. Through inheritance, we inherit or we acquire properties, inheritable properties, that means non-private properties from our parent class. Okay, and okay, so we will go through here. So b1 dot, I can say set door 4. A car may usually have maybe 4 or 6 doors. A bus may usually have maybe 4 or 6 doors. If I say b1 dot door will be, the b1 dot door will be b1 dot door. If I run this program in C#, if I just press F5 key, it will run. There is an error maybe somewhere. Oh, sorry, there is an error here because I did not complete this code. Okay, it works. You see what is the 6? You see the 6, b1 dot door equal to 6. I got this message. Okay, so everybody understand this, right? So far it's good. So now I want to extend our inheritance principle and its advantages. Okay, so far we understand inheritance is a process. Okay, in last exam, after starting this way, we asked a question, what is an inheritance? Define inheritance. Many people said inheritance is a class. No, inheritance is not class. I can have an inherited class. Inheritance is a process, okay, or a principle, or a process. By those process, a new class can achieve properties from its parent class or base class. Okay, which one is the parent class? So we know that whatever we can hear is a vehicle. So in some languages like C++, it allows to do this, to inherit from multiple parents class. But modern languages like C++, C#, and Java does not allow that. This is called multiple inheritance, having multiple parents. Okay, in C# it was allowed. When I actually learned object-oriented concept using C++ about 20 years ago. C++ is a good language but difficult, more difficult than Java. Nowadays C++ is rarely used. So in all academia, mostly Java is used in order to explain or in order to teach and learn object-oriented concept. So Java, C# and C++ and Python also does not allow to inherit from multiple parent class. Okay, but there is a way, an alternative way to handle this. We will discuss that later. Okay. So let us go back to our vehicle class. So our vehicle class has a constructor. Can anyone please tell me which one is the constructor? What is a constructor? A constructor is a what? Yes. Yes, that is used. That is the purpose of using constructor. But what is a constructor? What is the definition of a constructor? A constructor is a variable or a method or an object or what? Yes. Look at here on my cursor position. What is it? What is it? Yes, it is a method. How do I know that this is a method? Whenever you see something ended with a parenthesis, that is a method. Single trip, one line, one sentence trip. Okay, this is the way to remember this is a method, like it has a parenthesis. Okay, this is a method. Okay, so constructor is a method. What is the property of constructor? A constructor has exactly same name of his class name. My class name here is vehicle, so my constructor is vehicle. Okay, and a constructor cannot return a value, and even you cannot put void here. You cannot put void. It cannot return a value. A constructor cannot be called explicitly, but a constructor is called implicitly at the time when we create. Thank you. When we create an object. For instance, here we call vehicle constructor and we call car constructor, but we call bus constructor here, and we call our truck constructor somewhere, a truck constructor. But let us go to our car class and bus class and then truck class. So in my bus class, in my car class, do I have a constructor here? Or let us go through all the way end. There is no explicit constructor here defined, okay? But there is a default or implicit constructor in all class. Okay? So there, for instance, the bus class, you see, it does not have any explicit constructor, but it has indeed an implicit constructor, like the vehicle constructor. It has this vehicle. Okay, even if I do not have this vehicle constructor, I can create vehicle object. Okay, so this is a default constructor. If you see that there is no constructor, explicit constructor, then you will see, even if I do not have this, still my program will run. There is no error. Okay, my program is giving output whether or not I do have an explicit constructor. Okay. Okay, so then what is implicit constructor or default constructor? Actually, this is the default constructor. So if you have, for instance, a constructor but it has empty body, okay, nothing inside, so this is actually called a default constructor. This is the default constructor. All classes by default contains this default constructor. Okay, so by this way, so that means my bus class has a constructor public bus. This is my bus class, bus, like this. It has this. Okay, so I'm sorry, I put it inside run method. It will be going to outside run method. Okay, now it's good. So for instance, this bus class has an empty constructor, and this truck class has an empty constructor, default constructor, public truck, like this, empty constructor, and my car class has an empty constructor, okay. And if I write some print method here, then I will be able to see the effect of this constructor. But whether I do have this constructor or not, actually we have to think that we do have it actually. Okay, so a class contains a default or an empty constructor, no matter whether I explicitly define it or not. In addition to that, we can have explicit constructor that we have shown here, and not only that, we can have multiple constructors in a class. For instance, let us create another class, another constructor, public, sorry, no, not visible. Okay, public vehicle. Okay, so let us put a different constructor. So if I put this way, then it is showing me an error. Okay, if I start writing this way, if I start adding another constructor like this way, it is showing me an error. What is the error? It shows that the type vehicle already defined a member called dot actor with the same parameter type. Okay, look at the last clause of this sentence. It's called with same parameter types. That means it refers that if I have a different set of parameters, then I can have multiple constructors. That means if I define this vehicle with some different argument list or parameters, like called integer door, and then int speed, and then string color. Okay, now it is happy. As soon as I have at least one different argument, then it is happy, right? There is no error. Okay, so now it's good that I want to add 3 arguments within this vehicle constructor, and I want to utilize this in order to initialize objects. For instance, I want to say this dot doors equal to door. Oh, I'm sorry, this dot doors, this is color, because it's showing error because type mismatch. So the color has string and then door has integer, otherwise actually this dot door should be doors. Okay, this dot doors equal to door, and I can type in one line with using semicolon, and this dot speed, you see the speed here, equal to speed, and this dot color equal to color. Okay, so I can write in multiple lines in one sentence using the semicolon. Semicolons mean full stop in English language. That you can write multiple sentences in one line using full stop. So this is a way. Okay, so now let us recall and review the use of these operator here. So you know why I am using this operator? This operator is used to define that this dot door will be this door. Whatever value, whatever you see that when I click over here or when I select this one, it is selecting the doors here from here associated, that is associated with. This operator is used to refer to the current object. Okay, this says this dot door equal to the door means, so whatever door value I will assign when I create a vehicle object here as an argument, that value will be passed as an attribute, as a field of the door of the vehicle object. Okay, so far is good. Everybody understand this? Okay, so now let us utilize this. Let us utilize this constructor in order to create new vehicle object. Okay, and so another thing, then in some languages it use this like C++, Java and C#, and in some languages it use another operator, like maybe in Python it use self dot door, self and these are same thing. And maybe in other languages, some languages use me instead of this, some languages use me dot. Okay, so me, self, and these are same thing, that refers to the current object. Okay, so now let us create why do I have error? The original shape. Okay, so this is my class. Okay, I fixed it. So some codes copied and pasted over here, so unexpectedly. Okay, so now I have my vehicle constructor. This is empty constructor without any argument, and I have another vehicle constructor with 3 arguments. Now if I go to my main method, you see that I am able to create a vehicle either with empty constructor or with this constructor. Okay, so for here I am using the second constructor. I am using this constructor with 3 arguments. So write what is here the difference between this one. Okay, for instance, between the V1 object, this V1, now this V1 and the previous V2 object is that here for V2, V3 and V4 I have used the default constructor, but here for V1 I changed it to use the argumented constructor. Okay, so then what is the advantage of using this V1? So while I am creating an object or vehicle type, I am initializing its field using the constructor. So this is the another advantage or use of constructor, that we use a constructor in order to instantiate or initialize the fields of an object. Okay, so for instance, likely if I want to change my V2 object, as it will have 2 doors, okay, and then for instance 120 miles per hour maximum speed, and its color would be red, then I can do this way. Okay, and let us keep this, and I have a few more minutes. So now let us review whatever we have learned. So we have learned that we can use our default constructor, as well as we can have multiple constructors in a class. Okay, so when we have multiple constructor or multiple methods in a class with same name, but these must be different in terms of their argument or parameter types or number. This is called method overloading, is one kind of polymorphism. Another principle of object-oriented programming that we will discuss next week. Okay, so let us see another thing. So far everybody understand what is the difference between now V1 object and V2 object and V3 and V4 object? In V1 and V2 we use a constructor, argumented constructor, and while creating this V1 and V2 object we initialize this field value. But here V2 for V1, for V2 and V3 we are just creating empty object, but we are assigning value V1, V2 and V3, like for instance using getter and setter. Let me do that. Let me I want to go back actually for our own interest. Let us create a new object like V56, new 56, and let us go back to 1 and 2 in its original state, like this way. Okay, so I think it will be better if I use this. Let us keep V1 and V2 with default constructor, and let us create a new object like V5 and V6 as other objects using argumented. Now let us see another thing is that we want to do. So if I want to display V6, anyone has an idea what will be printed here? If I give this command, anyone has idea what will be printing? Like I want to print V1 and V5 and V6, that I want to print that V5 has 4 doors, 160 miles per hour speed and white color, and V6 has 2 doors and 120 miles speed and red color. I want to do that, but in order to do that I am just writing these 2 lines. Anyone has an idea what will be printing as an output of this line? So it printed V5 equal to inheritance explained dot vehicle. What is it? And V6 equal to inheritance explained dot vehicle. Is this meaningful? Is this the one that we wanted to display? No. We wanted to display that V5 has 4 doors, 160 speed, and white color, right? But we did not get that. Okay, the reason is that anyone has any idea? How can we get that, or what was my fault yet? At what I have to do now in order to do that? Huh? Yes. What is your name? Jeff. Yes, Jeff has good idea that we have to override the toString method. Okay. So what is the toString method? TrueString method is actually defined within our great parent class. What is my great parent class? Remember that? Every class by default inherit properties from object class. So even if you do not give it, by default we have it. That class vehicle, it by default all classes inherit properties from the object class. The object class is like that in some religion we believe that there is a single couple billion years ago, Adam and then Eve, right? And then we got properties and we are children of those couple, single parents, and we get some of or almost all of their properties, like they had 2 hands, 2 legs, 1 head, and we are inheriting those properties, right? So this object class is like that, the greatest parent class. So all class, whenever you create a new class, no matter when you inherit the object class or not, it basically inherits properties from the object class. The toString method is defined within that class. Okay, so maybe in some class, while I wanted to do that, it says that public override string toString method. Actually, I need to override this also in my vehicle class. So in my vehicle class, I did not do that. So you see that I do not have any toString method overridden. So I need to do that. I need to override toString method. Actually, we will discuss that later. When you come to polymorphism chapter next week, then we will discuss that. So that you see that here it is showing that inheritance explained dot vehicle. That means this is our inheritance explains is my what is this called, namespace or project name, and this is the class name. Okay, but we are not satisfied yet. Actually, we need, in order to be satisfied, we need to override our toString method. We will discuss that in our next class. Okay, so now, but so far, anyone has any question so far? So someone asked the format about the test. In the test, you can write your code in C# format or in Java format. Okay. And we will start our exam right time. If you late, then you will not get enough time. Okay. So please come on time. And we are with 6 questions. And then in order to do well, please review my class lectures posted on YouTube. Okay. Thank you so much.